It's been a week so far in baseball. Should we pick up the hot players? Should we dump the cold ones? We'll go through a ton of player discussions and give the strategy behind them. Plus, we'll have our waiver wire picks, pitcher preview, and your mailbag questions. That's all coming up next on Beat the Shift. And welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. I am your host, Ariel Cohen, and with me as always is Ruvain Guy. What's going on, Ruvain?
Not much. How are you doing today?
I'm doing rather great. Mets had a fantastic win yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but Alonso 3-run homer in the eighth to tie it, and then it was exciting. A couple of extra innings. Mets left runners. They stranded runners. Did you see the game, Ruvain?
I did. It was very, very sloppy. A lot of errors, a lot of miscues. And, it's this time of year, baseball is not that. It should be crisp because people are right out of spring training, but you don't always get that.
Yeah. Well, we've got a great episode today. It's going to be our hot and cold start episode. We know it's only 1 week and change, but some players are off to blazing starts and some people are ice cold. We'll talk about what to do with them, but of course we'll also talk about the strategy on what to look for in them, which is even more important and our specialty here at Beat the Shift. Introducing our guest, he was the Tout Wars head-to-head champion this past year. Yup, he beat me. Sky Dombroske, what's going on, Sky, from Fantistics, by the way?
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. Doing good, and congrats to you officially. I haven't had you on the show since, but congrats on taking us down last year.
Well, thanks, man. It's you know how that format is. There's going to be a little bit of luck involved, but I felt pretty good about my team last year, and ended up getting lucky enough to win it. And
you're doing pretty well in TGFBI this year already. You're in my league. You're in first place.
I did see that you were in my league. Yeah. Am I in first? Boy, I just came back from vacation 2 days ago, and everything's going nuts at work. So I've been paying less attention than I normally would so far.
And you're modest too. You're in first, and you're like, I don't know, not really paying attention. Oh, am I in first? Oh, okay.
I didn't mean it to sound that way.
No.
20th overall. It's pretty good so far. It's early, but still.
It is early.
Let's talk a little bit about Tout Wars. We really didn't recap the Tout Wars draft in our show. I was there drafting in the Bella Claire Hotel in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It was actually a really nice room, by the way.
It was.
Better than, remember last year's room? Was
God, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So this was actually really nice. Well, how did you think you did? What was your plan going in, Sky? Did you execute it? And any overall thoughts about the draft?
A couple thoughts. I mean, with head-to-head points, I tend to go in with less of a plan than I would in roto-style formats. I'm mostly, especially in an auction-style thing, I'm just basically looking for value wherever I can find it. And with that as the backdrop, I came out of the auction. I remember you and I talked right after. I really didn't love my team. It's growing on me, but I think the thing is that some of the players that I really was kind of hoping to get that I thought were going to be undervalued ended up being overvalued, and I just stayed away from them. And conversely, a bunch of guys that I probably thought that I would shy away from ended up looking like decent values to me. So I had a team full of guys that I rarely get, and that was just kind of threw me off to start with. But I definitely like my pitching. Might be a bat or two light, might be a reliever light, but I think in the next 3 weeks or so I can hopefully patch those holes up.
No, absolutely. A couple of good buys. You got Spencer Steer for pretty cheap, and I think everybody who got Steer got him cheap because we didn't know how long he'd be out, and especially plays in a head-to-head with playoffs. You get the full value there. You got a decently priced Bryce Harper. You went very cheap on the catcher. What was the theory there? Was that just the prices were garbage all over the place?
The way that our software program works, we basically shy away from two positions almost completely: relief pitching and catching. And we view them all as overvalued. We feel like the overpays start at the top of the board and they just persist all the way through. And then you compound that by a guy that I absolutely love, Patrick Bailey. And I had my eyes on him since the first couple catchers went off the board. I thought, all right, well, I'm going to get Bailey for $1 or $2, and then I'll just find another guy for about the same price and spend elsewhere. So it kind of evolved that way when a couple of the guys that I did like went for a little more than I had hoped for. Like Yander Diaz went for 15, and I just thought that was a little bit nutty. But so Bailey was fine. I would have liked Joey Bart, I think, but I ended up with Tyler Stevenson, so got a little hole in the lineup to start with. But he's a good player too.
Yeah, and he'll be back from injury. You did get Ellie De La Cruz for $34, Corbin Carroll for $35. I mean, I guess you like those prices. Obviously, the steals doesn't play as much in a head-to-head league with this kind of scoring system. Just a point, I'd say 2 points a steal, 1 point, -1 for caught stealing. But I guess you just found overall value with them regardless, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it was. I think Carroll's second half last year made me feel a little bit better about him, having a solid third season. And Ellie, he's got a lot of power. The strikeouts are a little bit of a factor in this format, but I just think $34, $35 for those guys when you've got Bobby Witt going at 51, and the value there just seemed appropriate for what I was trying to do.
Right. Now, one thing I do want to touch on, I spent 50% of my budget on pitching, and everybody else spent just 33% on pitching on average. Am I crazy?
No, I mean, look, you've got my favorite for the AL Cy Young, Logan Gilbert. You've got Zach Wheeler, who's a perpetual Cy Young candidate in the NL. Kevin Gausman's great. Framber Valdez is always a little bit undervalued because the K numbers aren't quite as high. I really like your pitching staff. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, and in a head-to-head, you don't have to exactly balance hitting and pitching, right? You just have to get to where it is. And the theory there for me is that, I found so many bargains available late just from my thought on where the market was going to go. Like in the middle infield, I knew it was going to be bargains. I didn't want to spend a lot. I got every single middle infielder for like $5. I've got Dansby Swanson, Andres Jimenez, Luis Garcia Jr., all for, a total of $18. And because I knew I was going to get bargains in the hitting, I'm like, well, pitching is not going ridiculous. It's going like par value. Let's just get pitching at par value. I spent on Adley Rutschman. I just like the price on him for that. And I'm just going to, bargain hitters. And, I'm just getting bargains overall. The thing also, though, is I was listening to Scott White on CBS talking about tout wars, and he's like, yeah, just spend on hitting because, all pitchers are interchangeable. I don't agree with that.
I completely disagree with that.
Yeah. The format here, innings are worth 3 points apiece. Strikeouts are worth just a half a point. Wins are worth a gargantuan 7 points. I feel like getting the top of the deck pitchers where they're going to pitch very deep into ball games, you're getting 25, 35 points a game from the pitchers. And if you're getting value in the hitting, you're just getting such a quantity of these big performing pitchers. You're going to get a great total each week, and that's going to really propel you. That's my thought on this one.
I think you're 100% right. I think one of the things that people kind of gloss over when they're talking about head-to-head points format versus a roto-style format is the massive importance of starting pitching. And in this format in particular, with the midweek substitution lineup change rule, you need to have 8, 10, 11 starting pitchers. So the more the better, because the quantity does matter. A halfway decent start is still worth 10 to 15 points, and that's a lot.
And understanding how the league is set up and how the points are worth, that's very, very important going into every draft. So if you understand that and you can exploit it, why not?
Yeah, 100%.
So week 1, Sky, you're playing me.
Unfortunately for me.
Unfortunately, and I am winning by like 125 points, and it's not even over. I kind of think that, and again, I don't want to make predictions that I'm going to win or lose, but I kind of think this week was set up for me because the first week was not a regular 7-game week; it was a 10-day week, and because I've got such better pitching than the rest of the league from my construction, and in a 10-day week, everybody gets 2 starts. That benefits me.
Well, not only that, but you have so many aces, and everybody's not playing 10 games. A lot of teams are only playing 8 or 9 games. So if you've got fourth and fifth starters, they might not be getting 2 turns this period, but all of your guys are getting 2 turns.
Exactly. So kind of advantaged me. Of course, I didn't know that I was playing you. It's random what it comes up, but I think I might win this week.
Let's think you're going to win this week.
Let's see.
I think you're going to win.
Yeah, maybe.
I just want to get above the median so that I can get my 1 win and move on.
That's true. Good important thing, which, by the way, you can thank me for.
I do thank you for it.
Yes. That not only do you play each other, but you play the median. So that at the end of the week, there's a win. You can get 2 wins, a win, a loss, or 2 losses. This way, if you happen to be playing an oh my god good team and you still have a good week, and then you go 1-1 for the week. You don't go 0-1. You get something for it, which I think actually stabilizes wins and it gets the right teams into the playoffs. I think better than just standard.
Better chance of it anyway. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, well, enough about Tout Wars. Let's talk strategy. We're talking hot and cold starts to players. And the first question I have for you, Sky, what metrics can you use to tell if a player is simply lucky or if they are real? Like, what are you actually looking at to determine if the hot and cold start is for real or for not?
This early, where we're, most guys have played 4, 5, 6 games. Most pitchers have had 1 start, maybe 2. This early, there isn't much that you can look at that is going to give much of this credence, I don't think. The one caveat that I will offer for that is on the pitching side. If you see a pretty substantial velocity bump or velocity decline, that carries some weight with me. But when you're talking about hitters, for the most part, I'm just not putting a lot of stock in what's happening for the first week, even 2. It's got to get close to a month before I'm really going to start looking at things like the first couple things will be chase rate and swing rate. Like, is the batter controlling the plate a little bit better this year than he has in the past? Is he being more passive, more aggressive? Like, those are the first things that I'll look at. And obviously exit velocity too. If guys are setting career highs in exit velocity, that's something to sit up and take note on as well.
Move
Yeah, on the Fangraphs website, there's actually a tab that's called the Plate Discipline tab, and if you really look at it, it shows how often players, the percentage of their swings are outside pitches in our zone, or pitches outside the zone or in the zone, and you can see some players are swinging more out of the zone than normally, and that means they're probably pressing a little bit more. So their cold start may be because just they're pressing or something like that. I going to mention also walk rate, because that's for the pitcher side. If the pitchers are, walking the ballpark or they can't get out of the third, fourth inning because their pitch count gets so high, maybe it's a problem with control. Sometimes it can be because of the weather, the colder weather, that type of thing. So those are certain things that I look for.
Yeah, it is a little bit too early, but, for pitchers, you're looking at strand rate, you're looking at BABIP. You do want to look at K-BB, walks and strikeouts. That actually stabilizes pretty quickly for pitchers and for hitters too, but, just a couple of starts will do it, so pay attention to that. Swinging strike rate is also pretty good for pitchers. For hitters, you want to look at their, again, Ks and BBs. Look at the way they're swinging. Look and see if your guy is crushing homers. Look to see if his homer to fly ball ratio is really lucky. If he's, batting average is too high, too low, look at the BABIP. So there's a couple of things like that as well. Do you believe hitter hot and cold starts more than pitchers, Sky, or is it about the same?
I think I probably believe pitchers a little more than hitters, just with the aforementioned maybe change in arsenal or velocity change. I think those things actually have some merit right off the bat. The problem is, in most of these really competitive leagues, you need to act as fast as possible. You need to be really aggressive. So you kind of have to have a little bit of hope or some preconceived notion on whether you think a start is for real or not. And a lot of times there isn't a ton that's concrete to go on this quickly.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you might have to quickly act, because everybody in fantasy baseball who's playing it is a smart guy now. Gone are the days where people don't notice anything and you can wait a little bit. You got to act fast, right? The question is, how quickly should you act fast on these guys hot on the wire to pick them up? And what kind of fab are you spending? I mean, to me, I hate spending quite a big purse on just a week worth of things. I mean, we talked with Howard Bender that, one year we spent $17 out of 100 on Emilio Bonifacio one good week, and that turned into a dud. But of course, you don't spend anything, you don't get the guy, and if they do have a good year, you don't get him. So you got to act quick. Are you of the opinion that you should spend a small amount, but throw a couple of darts, or how are you working it, Sky?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I do it, unless there's a situation where maybe a guy gets brought up to the majors that you didn't expect would be up for a handful of months. Then you might kind of open up the pocketbook a little bit. But for me, I had a couple spots that I needed to fill because I was out of town and didn't do the first bidding period for Tout Wars. And then I looked and I was like, all right, well, I have to get this spot filled. So I put like 6 conditional bids, all just kind of like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, $4, just to get a few spots filled. But I think the most important thing always is you have opinions of players coming into the season. They're based on years of track record, minor league, major league. They're based on spring. They're based on what you think playing time is going to look like. And letting 5 days change that, it seems a little foolish.
Yeah, I agree, and because at this point we're still going according to, I think we should still be going according to the projections because we don't know what's going on yet. This is still too small a sample size to make a big decision. Plus, you spent 2-3 months drafting, however long it was. You're going by the projections, and a week in you're going to throw those out the window and just go after the hottest guy. It's not rational. That isn't rational. It doesn't make any sense. So
Right.
to spend the money on Fab, I understand if you have an injury and you want to fill a hole, that's fine. But otherwise, I think you should really temper your bids and don't overspend too early. Yes, you can get that guy, but I think this soon you could wait a little bit. You don't want to get that Merriweather pick that people had a couple of years ago, where everyone wanted the closer for the Blue Jays the first week and spent all their Fab, and then they had nothing left, and Merriweather burned out anyway.
It also depends on your depends on your roster construction. I mean, if you're weak at second base and there's a second baseman that's hot, I mean, give it a shot. What do you got to lose? You got a weak position. You're going for nothing. Again, keep your fab bids low, and you won't be in trouble if you do that. Throw darts when you need. Just don't drop players that you got to give them a little bit of a fair chance. And we'll talk about some of the players off to hot starts and cold starts and what we think of them a little bit later. But quickly, if you're using your lineup, Sky, and you got a guy really, really hot, are you just going to keep playing him right away?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in the hot hand. I mean, you see these things happen all season long, and when it's a week in July, you don't pay too much attention to it, but you'd still leave them in the next week. I think when guys get on a heater, and vice versa, I think you need to respect the streak to a point.
Well, what about pitchers, though? Because pitchers, okay, they got a great start. Maybe they played a mediocre team. Pitchers can kill your ratios if they come with a clunker.
They definitely can. I'm pretty much always start by start with pitchers, looking at the matchups and seeing, obviously your top guys are 100% of the time. You start them all the time. Your second tier guys, you're probably starting everywhere but like Colorado, maybe Yankee Stadium, stuff like that. But when you get down into the middle of your rotation, I'm just doing matchups. I'm just going to see what I think is going to happen. If they have a chance to have an average to better than average start, they're going in.
And Ruvain, what about cold starts? Are you, Rafael Devers striking out 19 times? Are you sitting him in any chance?
No, because then you're going to miss his breakout because he's a player that's got such a track record. He's going to break out of it eventually, and you don't want to be the guy saying, "Oh, I left him on my bench a week too long." Some of these guys, the top tier guys, people you drafted in the first 7 rounds, even 8 rounds, 9 rounds, 10 rounds. You spent a lot of draft capital on them. You're not going to sit them after a couple of days or a week or so, just wait them to get going. Because, for example, Francisco Lindor, he is a notorious, since he joined the Mets, he's a notorious slow starter. Are you going to sit him? No, you're not going to sit him. You have to play him because he's going to break out at some point. He's going to hopefully play to the back of his baseball card. That's the hope.
Have a little bit of patience. I think that's the overarching thing. But for hot players that are on the wire, you got to act quickly, though, or you'll lose them. But be a little bit careful with how much you want to overspend, I think is what we're telling you here. Let's talk about the actual players, because some of them might be just, don't worry. Or some of them might be, they might be a little bit worried. So let's talk about the actual players themselves. Let's start with hot players, hot hitters. Willie Abreu. I mean, he didn't have a great spring training, but he's up to 500 on the year, 2 homers, a stolen base. He's walking like crazy. He ain't striking out a little bit, 5% K rate. I mean, it's very early. Very, very impressive. ATC was actually high on him for the year. I don't know, Sky. To me, I think Willie Abreu is, got something there.
I think there's something there. I do like Willie Abreu quite a bit. He's at that age, 25 now, where you might get that one last little power bump. And he already had very good quality of contact measures. 91.6 average exit velocity last year. He's a little above that again this year. Barrel rate was greater than 10%. Hard hit rate was almost 50%. Problem is, he doesn't give you much in terms of speed. His contact ability is improving, but still probably below average in total. And he's a big fly ball pull guy. So he really might only be a power guy, homers and RBIs for you. But I think there's quality there. I think he only hit 15 homers last year. I think he could easily be a 25 home run guy.
You agree, Ruben?
I agree to a point because, listen, you mentioned about his strikeout rate right now. He struck out twice out of 24 at-bats. That's very good. But it's only 1 week, number one. Number two, I think he's also thinking about playing for his job because he's got Roman Anthony breathing down his neck. They already gave Christian Campbell an extension, so he's a cornerstone for their team. Roman Anthony is one of those guys also. And Roman Anthony will get the job at some point. It's a matter of how long Willie Abreu can hold on to it. It's possible that he can hold on the rest of the season and keep Anthony down, and maybe he comes up later. It may be that way, but you're buying to this guy. Is it going to be a season-long thing? It's possible, but you have that caveat of that top prospect looming behind him.
Yeah, I agree with that. With Abreu, you're right. It really is about him holding the job because if he has any kind of extended cold streak, in comes Roman Anthony. He has, for his career, a 126 WRC+. He's been really uber productive. I mean, he was a 3-WAR player last year in less than 400 at-bats. So he's been nothing but good. There's been nothing that he's done to say to the Red Sox that you should not be playing. I think this guy is a guy to stick, to be honest. I think he's going to go 2010 at a minimum, maybe even upside of 30. I mean, this is definitely a guy that if you've drafted, you're holding. And if you haven't drafted and he's on the wire, immediate pickup. I mean, he's got to be one of the top pickups if he's available in any size league, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Soderstrom having a great start. 3 homers. We knew he has the power. What do you think? Is this just a hot start, or do you think that this guy really has something and might be, I'm not going to say a top 10 first baseman, but top 15?
Top 15 might be a stretch. I mean, he's another guy that is probably a 3 true outcomes guy, really. Walks, homers, and strikeouts galore. No speed, exit velocity is excellent, barrel rate excellent, hard hit rate excellent. This is all from last year, not just the small sample size of this year. Very similar player to Willie Abreu, except less speed, different position, and younger too. 23 years old with a 92 mile an hour average exit velocity last year is really impressive. And now you get the little park bump from moving to Sacramento from Oakland. I like Soderstrom. I like him to hit 30 homers this year.
Yeah, I mean, 15 is a stretch. I'm just trying to say, hey, does he have upside? I don't think so. I mean, ATC had him at 22 homers, maybe with the hot start, maybe 25 homers. ATC was a little bit higher than the market, not much. I'm kind of in line with ATC. I think he's just, a little bit better than the market. If he's available and you need a first baseman in a deeper league, sure. But I'm not running to grab or trade for him elsewhere. Ruvain?
Well, it's an interesting, Scott. You mentioned about the home stadium boost. He's 1 for 12 in his home stadium right now. So he's actually 1 for his last 12 when they just started playing there. So you haven't seen that boost yet. He's been hitting on the road. He's only struck out 8 times in 7 games for a power hitter. That's great. And the Athletics are known for having these power hitting first basemen, Matt Olson, Jason Giambi in the past. So they know how to find those power hitting guys who are almost like the like you mentioned, either home run or strikeout. That's what it is. But he has the power, and if you want to even try to trade for him, this is probably you want to get him early because he's going to be more expensive later on.
Kyle Manzardo, 2 homers so far, 17% strikeout rate, 13% walk rate, which is great so far. Obviously, it's 1 week only, but still great. He's hitting .250, which I mean, I guess he'd be better than that. I don't know. Kyle Manzardo seems to me just like a good week so far. I'm not running to pick him up, especially he does not have eligibility other than utility right now.
Yeah, Manzardo's one of those guys. I kind of have a soft spot for him. I've liked him coming up the ladder. So this is where my prior opinion is now being confirmed. So I got some confirmation bias happening. He's got a big launch angle, ton of pull this year. Another guy very similar to the 2 guys before him, 24 years old, good plate discipline. his contact ability is probably better than those other two guys, but so much fly ball and pull that the batting average will probably still be suspect. I think he's a good player. I do. And I would be looking to add him. I think he's at that age where you can expect a little bit of a breakout.
And his BABIP is pretty low right now, so that batting average may actually go up a little bit. So you put all that together, and we did see him in the AFL in the Arizona Fall League a couple of years ago, and he was really doing really well there, and we were all really impressed. So everyone bought in on him last year, but this may be the year that he breaks out.
I just don't have really big use for him, especially in leagues which would just have one utility. I mean, it's got to be like a little bit deeper than 15-team league, and I've got injuries. I also have a lot of those utility-only guys like Ozuna Rooker, so there's no place for me to even think about picking him up. Just the usage of him, I'm just, don't need it. And there's nothing he's done so far that's, oh my God, you got to get Manzardo. Meh for me in terms of usage.
You think he will get first base eligible during the year, don't you think?
It's possible, but
yeah, I guess at some point, sure. But for now, I mean, yeah, I guess you could pick him up with the theory that he'll be eligible at some point a month down the line, I guess. But I don't know. Again, he's also low on the list for first baseman. I mean, I've got so many other first basemen that I've drafted that I see better. I mean, would you rather have him or like Ryan Mountcastle?
That's actually a good question.
How about him or Michael Bush?
I'd rather Manzardo.
I think I'll take Bush.
I can go either way with that.
Jake Cronenworth?
Manzardo.
I think I'll take Cronenworth. I guess I'm just not high on
You don't
Manzardo.
like Manzardo, okay.
I said I like it.
That's your answer.
You could be right. You could easily be right.
Okay. All right. Spencer Torkelson. So far, I mean, made the team so far. 318 average, has a homer. His BABIP is crazy at 500. What bothers me about him is his strikeout rate is 33%. His barrel rate is really not good at 7.5%. I just think this is a flashy week for him. Yeah, he had a good spring training, so, he's not buried in the bones, but I have no reason to really rush to pick him up, or do you, Sky?
I don't think I'd be rushing to pick him up, but I'm always intrigued by guys that, number one, have put together like an entire half at the professional level, at the major league level, as a good hitter. And now he's still just 25 after going to purgatory for a year or so. Exit velocity's back to pretty good so far in this handful of games. His plate discipline's always pretty good, and he's a better contact hitter than you would think for a guy with his power. I remember him back in college. He was such a great hitter. I really think that there could be something here. I mean, he's shown it before. What, he hit 20 homers in the second half 2 years ago? He's got some pop.
Yeah. And his hard hit rate this year is close to 50%. What's interesting about him though is he's lowered his launch angle from 20 to 10 degrees. He's lowered it they cut it in half. He's hitting less fly balls, but he's hitting more line drives. So that's interesting. That plays into his batting average more, and those home runs will eventually come. I mean, he's still young. He's not at the peak power age yet, so that still will come. I think if he's trying to hit more for average, this may be the year.
All right. I mean, would you rather have Torkelson or like Andrew Vaughn?
Oh, probably Andrew Vaughn.
Back to Michael Bush. Would you rather have him or Bush?
I'd probably rather have Torkelson. I just don't like Michael Bush that much, I guess.
Okay, so you're anti. Would you rather have him? How about Mountcastle? We're back to that.
I think I'd probably still go with Torkelson, but it's close. I just see the
how
upside.
How about this one? Would you rather have Torkelson or Manzardo?
I knew you were going to go there. I think I like Manzardo. I think he's just a better hitter.
One more, Christian Encarnacion Strand.
Oh, man, I like that kid, but I question the ability to stay healthy.
I think we found a level somewhere around here. Obviously, you like Manzardo, I don't, but somewhere around this level, which it's like a low-end corner infielder for deeper leagues.
Yes.
I guess if you need the spot, sure. I guess you can take a flyer on Torkelson. To me, that's 15-team leagues, not enough for 12 leagues at the moment, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Eugenio Suarez, a little bit different kind of value here. Eugenio Suarez, he has 5 homers and 11 RBIs this week. Wow. And by the way, he's only batting .238, but that's with am I reading this right? 0 BABIP? Is that even
0.
possible?
It's not possible.
That's got to be an error, right?
Yes.
His homer to fly ball rate is a crazy 63%. That'll stabilize, but Barrel rate is 38%. Strikeout rate is way down. I mean, Eugenio Suarez to me was a guy last year that was way undervalued. 30 homer, 101 RBI. And, projections are pretty much regressing him due to age. But I don't think he's a guy that actually follows it. I think he's actually aging very gracefully and slowly. And, I mean, we're talking about a guy who was a $24 player last year in 15-team leagues. And over the past 3 years, he's averaged being like an $18 player. I mean, I just think he was way undervalued for this year. And if you've got him, congrats to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just exactly what you think he should be and undervalued.
Suarez he's interesting. 33 years old now. You think he's probably just leaving his prime. And you can look at the last couple of years' worth of performance a couple different ways. He's had miserable first halves each of the last 2 years, batting under 200, power was down, and then he's saved them with excellent second halves. So if he's actually going to play well in the first half this year and have his normal second half, who knows what he could put up. He's got above average raw power. Exit velocity is averaging 100 so far this year, and he hit another double today against the Yanks already. So he's smoking the ball.
That's the big thing. He was playing at Yankee Stadium. The weather was actually, for the first couple of days, the weather was actually pretty good. So, the fact that he's doing this at Yankee Stadium, it's not a surprise. I mean, I guess he's trying to match Aaron Judge blow for blow here. I think that's, that's what it looks like. But I mean, you know what you're going to get with him. But this year he's pulling the ball like 70% of the time. So maybe he's doing that a little more consciously. That he's trying to pull the ball more, maybe to get more power, to get it down the line more. Well, I'd have to wait another like 2-3 weeks when he gets out of Yankee Stadium and goes home and plays at home to see if you see that difference.
Would you rather have Eugenio Suarez or Mark Vientos at this point?
Probably rather have Eugenio Suarez, but
Yeah.
I think that's a case of somebody who's massively undervalued versus a guy that was quite a bit overvalued.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
What about
yes.
Jake Berger? Would you rather take Jake Berger?
Then Suarez?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a close one. I think I like Berger just for the youth. I think they're similar.
And I like Berger because he's eligible at first and third.
Sure.
There you go. Good
The
point.
point here is that, Suarez was going way cheaper than those guys, but I think he's quite a bit better. Here's another interesting one. Would you rather have Suarez or Junior Caminero?
I want Caminero's home run celebrations on my team. So
Okay, so Suarez again undervalued. Is he a trade target in case somebody doesn't believe it right now? I guess he is.
for me, I mean, anytime you've got a 33-year-old guy that has some pretty obvious flaws that has a week like this and gets all of us talking about him, I think for me he's possible trade bait.
I'm gonna buy him.
You're gonna get 30 home runs from him, and if he's using up 5 of them here in the first week of April, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's gonna hit 40 this year, but I'm skeptical.
Does it work like that? You have a certain number of homers and you use it up, so there's less.
Yeah, it's a quota, man. It's a quota system.
Right.
You know that.
Yeah.
No, I actually think he's a buy. I think he's a buy high, to be honest, Suarez.
Okay.
So you might see me on the market. All right, here's a guy that ATC was very high on. I own him in like 1 or 2 leagues. Otto Lopez. Now, again, I thought that the middle infield position had so many bargains late. Guys are worth way more than they should. So I just, during draft season, I wouldn't buy anybody expensive unless there was like, oh my God, all right, can't pass this up. Like, I got a cheap Ozzy Albies in 1 league. Okay, can't pass that up. But Otto Lopez was one of them. He's on the Marlins, who have like, 6 or 7 rookies in their starting lineup. He's going to play every day. The thing about, when I'm looking at projections, ATC had him at a bargain, and ATC only projected him for 419 at-bats. I think that's really low. I think he's going to beat that by a lot. And if he was a $3 bargain with that at-bats, he's like going to be like a $6, $7 bargain if he beats that. Mm-hmm. He's looked so good so far, batting .345, 2 homers, 1 stolen base. And he's not going to end up .345, but I think he's actually a plus batting average player. He's got a very strong strikeout rate and a good, strong walk rate so far. I don't know. I think Otto Lopez is a guy that I think what he's doing is absolutely real, and I'm buying. Agree?
To a point, yeah, I think I agree. He's a decent contact hitter, very good line drive hitter, good speed. He's really kind of a perfect guy to bat up towards the top of the Marlin order, except for the fact that his plate discipline's pretty abysmal. But
So far,
he's a
so
nice
good
little
though.
player.
So far,
He's a
so
nice
good
little
this year.
player. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. He does. I don't think he has a lot of power. I'd be surprised if he gets to double digits in home runs. But I think he's a nice little player. Definitely somebody that was overlooked in the spring, and I'd say mostly for real here.
Yeah, I would agree that he's for real. I mean, last year he had a total of 17 barrels the whole year. He has four already this year, and it's not even. We did what, a week so far. You want to get him for his stolen bases though. He had 20 stolen bases last year. He could steal you a base or two. You're not getting for his power, not as much. And you mentioned about plate discipline. He's had 32 plate appearances, only struck out three times. Now, it's a very small sample size, and after I mean, look who the teams he was playing. He was playing the Pirates, and he played the Mets so far. So those teams don't have major strikeout pitchers on their roster. So I think that those strikeouts will go up. He will regress a little bit, but I think you'll definitely get your money's worth out of him.
The projections all had him at just like 15 stolen bases for the year. Do you think he's more of a 30 stolen base guy?
I think between the two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
if
close.
you look on Fangraphs now has all of the rest of season projections. They all have him at 14 stolen bases. ATC actually is the high one at 18 stolen bases. I actually think he might end up with 20 or 25 for the year.
I
Marlins are going
agree.
to run wild. Like Xavier Edwards, I said on the show last week, I think Xavier Edwards might end up being the stolen base champion of the NL.
Certainly possible.
Yes.
There's no reason for them not to run.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Lars Nootbaar, who another ATC, small bargain. By the way, I have to say that a lot of these guys who are hot, notice a little pattern. ATC has them as like a $3 bargain, like a decent bargain. It's amazing because ATC is set up in such a way so that it's not going to get the magnitude. Like if one of these guys ends up being an oh my god player, ATC is not going to show it, but ATC is going to show it as a bargain. This guy is hot, a bargain. Like you got to know how to use ATC. It's about getting the buy and sell correct. Oh, it's a bargain. You know what? Let's buy him. And by the way, it's more important in general to be correct directionally than it is magnitudely. Because if you
Yes.
buy Lars Nootbaar, it really doesn't matter if he's a small bargain or a large bargain. You'll realize it. Once he's on your team, you get all the upside, right?
That's a really good point.
Yeah. But he's been great. 417 batting average, 2 homers. Sure, his BABIP is out of control at 420. It'll come down, but so far he's not striking out. His homer to fly ball ratio actually looks somewhat normal. Like he lost a lot of balls, and they're flying out at an average pace. His exit velocity is way up right now. It's like his average velocity is up at 95 miles an hour. He looks actually really good. I'm definitely intrigued by him. What about you?
Yeah, I was really high on him coming into the year. I targeted him almost in every format, and my broadcast partner says something that I think is pretty poignant about just valuation of hitters in general. He says whenever anybody asks me how well a player is going to do, I say, well, how many plate appearances is he going to get? And the big thing with Nootbaar is he is the Cardinals' leadoff hitter now, at least against right-handed pitching. And the reason he's their leadoff hitter is he has very good plate discipline, excellent contact ability. He does have above average speed. He's not really a base stealer, but I could see him getting to double digits in steals. And as you mentioned, the exit velocity is up a ton. The launch angle is up a ton. So he's hitting the ball much less on the ground, which has been his problem since he broke into the majors. There is nothing here that makes me think that Nootbaar isn't going to have one of the surprise years in baseball.
Before I ask Ruvain, just to compare, and he's not having a great time to start, but Matt Wallner, he's been the Minnesota leadoff batter. Any thoughts on him? Obviously, he's been ice cold, but they're playing him, and he's going to get the at bats.
But he's a different type of player though. Matt Wallner is more of a power guy. You want him for more power. Newbar is not a power guy. He's more of a get on base type of guy. He has these 2 home runs already early. You mentioned the launch angle. That's a crazy launch angle. If you look it up, it's crazy. But I don't think that's what he's going to try to do. He's going to be. They want him to be the table setter. And what I think the main thing about Newbar right now is that he's healthy. We haven't seen a fully healthy Newbar. I mean that's a weird saying, but we haven't seen a really healthy Newbar in a while, just because he's always had these nagging injuries. It seems like every Cardinals outfielder has always had a nagging injury. He's healthy right now. He's batting leadoff. He's a guy that, if you'd see a leadoff batter on most teams, you see him on the waiver wire, you grab him immediately. This is probably one of the top guys, should be on your list of people to pick up just because of that. Matt Wallner, a little bit different because Matt Wallner, got the lefty righty splits with him. A little bit more nervous about that. He's a power hitter. He's not the prototypical leadoff hitter. Not that Nootbaar is, but he's more of a leadoff hitter than Wallner is.
All right, if you don't like him, Ruvain, just say so. Just say so.
There you go. Well, you told me to compare, so I compared. That's all.
Last one on the hitters, Ben Rice, the Yankees. To me, this just seems like a hot week. I'm not interested. Anybody?
Speaking of leadoff hitters, Ben Rice is the Yankees' leadoff hitter against right-handers. So I think that alone, again, gives him some cachet. And, above average power, very good plate discipline. We're talking about a lot of similar kinds of players here in the guys that are off to hot starts. They're not great contact bats, but he has power. I think he's going to be pretty good.
I don't know. I just think it was a hot week. I mean, the Yankees just went crazy. By the way, what do you guys think of this torpedo bats thing? Just want to get
That's
your
a
take.
non-event, I think, but people love to have stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and you still have to hit the ball, and you have to hit it at the right spot of the bat. And this is something that, okay, the batters are getting the advantage now. The pitchers will start to figure out how to pitch the torpedo bat, and it'll correct itself.
100%.
I mean, I heard AJ Pierzynski on MLB, and he was saying that, I was against it. I want like the longest barrel possible, so that if you miss on your sweet spot, great. If it hits the sweet spot and you get there, sure, it's better. But you want to be able to get it where you missed your sweet spot and it still gets something. So he's like, I'm against the torpedo bots. He thinks it's just a bunch of nothing, and it was more that Milwaukee pitching just stunk for the first weekend. Yeah, I kind of think this is just spicy to talk about, and maybe the bat makers are just going to have a field day with this. Like, oh, buy your torpedo bats now. Here we go.
Yeah.
They will change your life. And of course,
yeah.
it's a bunch of nothing here.
Well, plus people love to hate the Yankees.
And I've seen ads for it already for the general public. Get your torpedo bats for your
Really?
high school team and everything. Yes, I've seen ads for it already.
Wow.
They're gonna waste no time on that. I mean, it's working now. Just they're gonna smack the heck out of this. Why not?
Strike while the iron's hot. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
All right, pitchers. Nate Eovaldi. I mean, he threw a beautiful, shutout, complete game shutout the other day. Nate Eovaldi, to me, has just been great for a while now, and reliable, throws innings. I mean, I have a bunch of shares of him. He is, to me, it's not a buy, it's just hold. I mean, you get what you paid for him here.
Yeah, I always wonder why his value kind of gets depressed. I think people remember the guy from his Yankee tenure where he was terrible. And he was really bad his first year in Boston, too, so they shuttled him back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation. People don't see the guy that he's been since COVID, where he's got 5 straight years with 4 of them were xFIPs under 350. Like, that's a really good pitcher. And the early career control problems, they're gone. He's not a huge bat misser, but it's better than it used to be. I think he's just a really good pitcher. Ground ball rate has come up a lot. Chase rate's up. Swing strike rate's up. Everything looks good. Yeah, it's 2 starts, and the velo is off a little bit, but I think Eovaldi's going to be just fine. He's a really solid, number 3 starter.
I know you agree, Ruvain.
Yeah, I have him in so many leagues, so of course I agree with this. He has no walks so far in 15 innings. I think he was just undervalued, and the market didn't value him right during draft season. I think that's the issue.
What about Mackenzie Gore? Mackenzie Gore's a guy that, to me, I always said, if he ever get those walks under control, he's going to be great. Because we know he has upside, but he's had such a bad control problem on him. Steamer, by the way, was really high on him before the year. They had him at like an $11 value. ATC was a little bit more muted at $7, which was about where the market was. So far, I don't see such a massive change in what he's throwing. Like, you want to see his pitch repertoire. Is he doing anything different? Maybe he's throwing a tad fewer fastballs, if any, but it's close to the same. Velocity is the same. I don't see him doing anything different. He just managed to avoid some walks. I'm a little worried about the walks. I think after one start, just not enough info for me to see whether he's done with those walks. So I'm hesitant to say I really buy this greatness. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if you watched his second start, which was yesterday, I believe, It was more of the Mackenzie Gore that we're used to seeing. Kind of high pitch counts. Couldn't get past. He got out of the fifth inning, but he couldn't get into the sixth. Just running up the pitch count to 100 or 90. Early in the game. It's always the control with Gore because his stuff is excellent. And the days that he has it harnessed, like the first start of the season, 13 Ks in 6 innings, he's dominant. But most of the time, he's going to scuffle with the zone, and you're going to get chase numbers, you're going to get swing strike numbers. He's going to be mostly successful, but the combination of the high walks and the very low ground ball rate does leave him a bit flammable at times. I like him, but he's a little volatile.
Are you starting him every week in 15-team leagues? I guess you have to, right?
In 15, probably.
But 12?
12, I think you can pick your spots a little bit, but he's a guy that's going to be in most of the time for me.
Right.
I have him in a 10-team league, and I sat him the first week. That's
oops.
how that was. Oops. Well, I'm still winning the league week, so it doesn't really matter. But he does have a new pitch. He has a cutter. He hasn't thrown a cutter before. He's only thrown it 5% of the time, but it shows that he is trying to tinker, trying to change, trying to get a little bit better, trying something different. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and that cutter's been his second most valuable pitch so far, even at 5% of the time.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask you about this guy because I'm on the fence. I own, so it's Casey Mize. I didn't own any of him. He was off my radar, but I do partner a league, GDD, with Ian Kahn, and he's high on him, and he picked him. Actually, we're against Ruvain in this league. Great first start, but of course it was at a very good ballpark in Seattle against a less than thrilling team. Very lucky with the BABIP so far. I worry that there's another thing. Just like Gore, he'll just walk people. The whip will be high. He'll be prone to the clunker, so his ERA will stay high. He's to me he's Gore, but not as good, and I'm just fearful for him of just torpedoing, if to use the term, your ratios. I don't know. Do you guys have any different opinion? Ruvain first.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty high on him this year because of what he did in that first start. If you look at his pitch mix, he's using a regular curveball. He used it 23% of the time. He did not throw the knuckle curve at all, period. Nothing. So he's actually using a new pitch, and he used it 23% of the time, and he used the slider almost 15 or 16% less than he normally does. So he's getting away from that. He's trying to use the differences in the speed even more, meaning that his average fastball velocity for this year has been 94 so far. The slider is 86, but the curve is 83. That 3 mile an hour difference can make a difference. He's on a good team. He's in a poor division. These are all things that go for Casey Mize. But again, just like all the young Tigers pitchers for the last couple of years, it's a matter of staying healthy. If he can stay healthy, then you may have a diamond in the rough here.
What's your takes, Guy?
Yeah, I think Ruvain's spot on there. The only thing that, one start against a bad team in a favorable park, like you said, I think that's the most important thing so far, besides the development of the new curveball, which was very good, by the way. He's up against the Yankees on Monday, so that'll give us a little bit more information, I think. But I do like Mize as a back-end starter this year. I think the control isn't going to be a huge problem. I just worry about how hittable he's going to be.
Like, if you're in a 10-team league and he's available on your wire, which I guess is probably the only place he could be, I guess maybe you take a dart on him, a cheap dart, like we talked about earlier. I'm not breaking the bank on him, but sure, if you have a roster spot or, you're try somebody else, I guess.
But then the question is, he's playing the Yankees next week. Do you pick him up? Do you play him?
Oh, God, no.
Do you have enough confidence to play him yet?
Not the way they're hitting right now.
Are you playing anybody against the Yankees who's a fringe guy?
Not right now. Not yet.
Right now.
Not yet. No,
No,
he can't.
no.
So he's a guy you'd probably get, and you may even get a discount because people say, "Oh, let me get him. Let me see who he's playing. Oh, he's playing the Yankees. Oh, I don't want him." So you may actually get him for cheaper if you wanted this week.
That's a good call.
Are you playing Justin Steele against the Yankees if he plays? I'm just wondering what are your threshold for playing the Yankees? If you're throwing Steele against the Yankees, I guess you have to, right?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yes.
Are you throwing Eovaldi against the Yankees?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so it's a little bit lower than that level. Okay. Are you throwing Kodai Senga against the Yankees?
No.
Yes.
No.
Ooh, okay.
He's walking too many people. Kodai Senga has to get control first, then yes.
Right, so we've gotten to the level where it's now a debate, right? Okay, what about Shane Baz? Throwing a lot more cutters. It's really working. Not walking anybody. Tons of strikeouts. 1 inning so far, but it's been great so far. Could Shane Baz be the Rays' best pitcher this year?
He could be, and that velocity jump of about 1.5 miles is pretty key.
Yes.
This is one of those situations where I will buy into something early, and if he's going to be throwing 97 again like he did as a rookie, yeah, I want every bit of that.
Is he going to get hurt, Ruvain?
Um, he's a Rays pitcher. It's early in the season. How many times have we heard of Rays pitchers getting hurt early in the season? Not often, right? Not that often at all. And that's all sarcasm there. Yes, I think there will be a point when he does. I mean, he's had some issues in the past as well. That increase in velocity is a little bit. I mean, it's great, but it's also a little bit concerning. And when you're jumping like that and you're throwing that many pitches, the Rays try to limit the amount of pitches he's going to throw. They don't like throwing the pitchers for so long. So how much length are you going to get out of him is going to be a good question. And also, last game he had 100% strand rate. Every runner that got on did not score. That is not going to always happen. So, you can buy him high here. There's that ceiling that it's a Rays pitcher and he figured it out. But there's also a lot of caveats that come with being a Rays pitcher.
Yeah, his skills look good. I'm buying the skills. I'm just always in the back of my mind worried, like, this is another injury breakdown. I mean, he's not like going from 93 to 94.5. He's going in the upper 90s, and we've seen what happened to high-velocity pitchers. We've seen what happened to Rays pitchers. Just worried about him, that's all.
He's got a nice 2-start week next week, though.
Oh, yeah. Play him. I mean, if you have him, you're playing him now, and certainly you're picking him up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Luke Jackson, crappy first save chance, but went right back to him, and he has 3 saves. I actually picked him up in 2 leagues and started him immediately and got the first save out of him. Is this a guy who you're just saying, no, don't buy? Or you're saying, well, 15-team league, what the hell? He's the closer right now.
I guess the latter, but I'm not the least bit excited about it. I mean, it's the guy that walks the world, and he always has.
Action Jackson.
You got it. A lot of ground balls usually, but, the number of walks is just really problematic for me. I bet he loses the job soon.
But he has closed in the past. He did have 18 saves for the Braves back in 2019. So it's not like, and that's the one area he actually excelled in for a little bit. So, there is a possibility that he can keep it up, but yeah, I think that the Texas closing situation is going to be very fluid. And if they are good later in the season, I can see them trading for a closer.
Or they're going to put Mark Church in at some point. All right. Before we go on, let's do Injury Guru Trivia of the Week.
Well, now we're actually going to be talking about some of the cold players who have started off the season pretty ice cold. Now, the trivia question is this, and it'll work into one of the players that we're going to talk about. Since 2005, besides Barry Bonds, there were and are 5 major league players who have had a higher walk rate than a K rate. Who are they?
In career or
since 2005, 5 players. They could be. I'm going to give you a hint. One of them is still playing, and 4 of them aren't playing. Let's see if you can name all 5. A higher walk rate than K rate
for career. All right, go ahead. Go first, Sky. You get the
from
first
2005.
You said one's on this list.
Yes. So you could cheat a little bit. So
it's one of 2. It's one of 2 guys.
Okay.
Boy, I actually have no idea. I mean, I'm going to guess off the list Jose Ramirez, but
no, it's not Jose Ramirez.
I mean, I would have said Luis Arias.
And it definitely is. Yeah.
Yes, Luis Arias is one of them. Can you name the other 4? They are not playing anymore, and none of them are in the Hall of Fame, including Barry Bonds, obviously.
Really?
None of them are in the Hall of Fame.
And they're not
4
playing?
others. They're not playing. They've all retired.
I'm going to go with Joey Votto.
No.
Oh. Pujols?
No. Think Moneyball.
Scott Hatterberg?
Yes. Scott Hatterberg. Scott Hatterberg is one of them. Luis Castillo, the Marlins, is another. Moises Alou and Brian Giles. So Luis Arias is in a very different company. You got Barry Bonds on that list also. But Barry Bonds is the outlier for all of them. Now, Luis Arias is one of the cold players we want to talk about. He started the season 0 for 13. 0 for 13. But he did not strike out once in those at bats. So he's still making contact. He's just not getting the luck as his BABIP is 111 going into today. But he does have a 3-game hit streak. Sky, are you worried at all about Luis Arias and his value?
I feel like he's one of those one-trick ponies that gets a little overvalued because he is such an elite contact hitter. He's got poor exit velocity, hard hit rate, barrel rate, and typically his chase rate is awful too. He just is a guy that can make contact with a baseball. The batting average will be good, and he usually bats near the top of the lineup, so the runs scored are up there. But other than that, I'm not a big fan of Arias. I think the ceiling is always low.
The thing about Arias is that, or anybody who relies on batting average, is that if you happen to have a bad BABIP stretch, it kills you. And that's actually what's going on right now, right? He's making contact, but he just happened to hitting it to fielders, so he can kill you. And when your value dependent is on that, you're going to have a lot of swings in value. Now, if you did buy Luis Arias, though, you probably bought him at a big bargain, so it probably accounted for it, and you're probably still getting great value out of him. The thing about him is that he looks like he's hitting more ground balls right now. Maybe that's just, early season. And we've seen him do this, where I think when he won the batting title, he also was like 0 for 15 to start the year, and then boom, a batting title. So I'm not worried. I think he rights the ship, and of course it goes the other way. If you have a very lucky BABIP stretch, well then his value is going to explode there. So no worries right there. And I'm impressed, Ruvain, that you worked in Scott Hadelberg into the show.
Yeah, I wanted to do that because when I was looking at the Rise number, I'm looking like he struck out 29 times last year. 29 times. You know that Rafael Devers is halfway there already?
Yeah, that's crazy. I saw something like Tony Gwynn struck out like 15 times in a season once, and Devers has more. Right now, it's some crazy thing like that. By the way, Moneyball, since you mentioned it, it's one of my kids' favorite baseball movies. What are your guys' top 3 baseball movies of all time?
Major League for me and Bull Durham. Those are the 2 that I love.
I actually like A League of Their Own. I thought that was very good. I love Major League, and everyone it just gets such, I don't know why, but Field of Dreams. I just
Hated
like
that.
that movie.
Hated it.
People either love it or
Really?
they hate it. It's one or the
It
other.
was so stupid.
I'm actually going there this summer.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything.
Well,
It's fine. It's fine.
Well, James Earl Jones in that movie is probably, besides being Darth Vader, that's the movie. It's one of the movies he's known for.
Just passed away.
Yes.
I thought that movie was stupid, though. I didn't like it at all. I'm going to go with The Natural. I think The Natural is just, I cry every time I see it. It's just a pure baseball movie. Love it.
I loved 61, but I'm a Yankee guy.
Yeah, 61 is good if you're a Yankee guy, but if you're a Met fan, it's like, oh God, I have to hear another Yankee movie.
Another movie about the Yankees.
And
yeah.
my favorite
I hear
kids
you.
baseball movie is Angels in the Outfield. I love the music in that movie, and it's just a great feel-good movie. I love Angels in the Outfield. Okay, back to baseball here.
Yeah, talk about Devers. We can talk about Devers now. 'cause
Yeah,
he's
we
also
don't
off
have
to
to
a
say
slow
much
start.
about these guys. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Devers. This is just don't worry about him. You're not even sitting him. You're just playing him, right?
You have to, but my only question is, and maybe Ruvain's a little
injury,
more in
right?
tune here. Yeah, is that shoulder bothering him more than we think?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think he's also pressing because of the fact he's the DH, the full-time DH now, so he's got that in his head that he's got to hit. But if you look at his numbers, I'm not concerned about him at all because he's only swinging 18% out of the zone of pitches out of the zone, which is actually one of the lowest of his career. So he's not swinging at bad pitches. It's just that he's not making contact. Whether it's because his swing is tinkered a little because of his shoulder issue. We will never know unless he ends up on the IL for like a week or so just to rest it. You'll never know. He won't tell you either. So
Just think of
Right.
the last month for him. Okay, Rafael Devers, just want to let you know we've signed Alex Bregman. What? You're okay, Rafael Devers. Actually, he's not going to play second base. He's taking your position. You're the DH. What? Okay, Rafael Devers, we're now signing Christian Campbell to $1 bajillion for, he's played a couple games and he's now there. So any hope you have of playing the field is over. What? I mean, he's got to be having a really bad month, no? And
He's the cornerstone guy for their offense. Like, that's how you treat him?
and then he comes and says, all right, you know what? I'm going to show you what I'm made of. 19 strikeouts? I mean, what kind of month is he having?
Oh, it's awful.
well,
It's
there've been a
terrible.
lot of hitters that say transitioning from a fielding all the time to be a full-time DH. There is a transition period when people have to get used to that, and I think it was A-Rod who said it. I know how much you can go by A-Rod, but when he transitioned to almost be a full-time DH and he couldn't play third base anymore, he said there was that period where he he didn't feel like himself because he had a different routine, and that may be it. He may just need to get into a new routine, and that's it.
Maybe they should get some old, really good Red Sox DH to come talk some sense into him.
Oh, I don't.
I don't
who
know
could
of
they
any.
Possibly
I
find.
don't know of any. Oh, Scott Hatterberg. Scott Hatterberg. There you go.
There you
There
go.
you go. There's your answer.
All right, let's talk Luis Garcia Jr. I have got a crap load of shares of him, and he's batting a 118 with 1 RBI. His looking at his plate discipline, it's not looking great. It's down, but I don't know. I think that this is just absolutely unluckiness. I think his BABIP is very low. His barrel rate is actually double than his career average so far. So he's hitting the ball hard. His Z contact rate is 100%. So he's actually anything that he's swinging at in the zone, he's making contact with and going to play. I think Luis Garcia Jr. is a buy low.
Yeah, I agree. I think his value might have gotten a little bit out of hand this spring. Like I don't think he has much better than average power and speed, but he's a nice little player. And anytime you can see a guy that's 25 years old, he's turning 25 in about a month. He's 25 and he already has almost 2,000 major league plate appearances. So this is a very seasoned guy that is still probably maturing physically. So I do like Luis Garcia. I have a lot of him as well. I think he was a touch overvalued coming into the year, but I still think he's likely to give you 15-15 with a good batting average. And at second base, a pretty weak position, that's solid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little nervous about him because if I'm going by this metric that I've been mentioning, the plate discipline, the O swing that he has, 50% of his swings are at balls out of the strike zone, which is not great. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But you mentioned when he hits the ball, he does hit it hard. He hasn't walked yet, and he's got a 23% K rate. That's not great. But again, it's early in the season. A lot of times players do press the first week or two.
23 is
You get
okay though.
overly-
It's not out of control. It's not out of control.
That's not crazy, but the fact that you're swinging 50% out of the strike zone, that's more concerning than the strikeout rate. That's it's getting to the point where you're at 2 strikes because you're swinging at a pitch that's over your head or it's in the dirt. I think he's just a little bit over anxious. I think over time, I think he's a guy you just hold on to and you'll see the numbers will accumulate.
All right, this guy could be off the list soon. Tristan Cassis, before today, 095, but boop, 2 hits, including a homer today, and it looked great. What still worries me is that the strikeout rate is really high. He is still striking out at everything. I kind of think he's a big power, low batting average guy, and the power's coming. We're talking like a 230, a hitter with 30 homers, that kind of thing. So to me, if that's what you bought him for, that's what you're going to have him. If you think anything more of him, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you're in an OBP-based league, I think he's pretty valuable because he is a very disciplined hitter. He just swings and misses a lot. But he doesn't chase a ton, and he will draw some walks. So he's, classic 3 true outcomes first baseman. I think 30 homers, perfectly reasonable to expect. Obviously, today's just number 1, but it's only game 7. So.
And Ruvain, what about Michael Toglia of the Rockies? He looks so bad. 053. He's a 60% strikeout rate. His exit velocity average is like 84 miles an hour. Yikes.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about Toglia. I mean, he's got 12 strikeouts, also in 19 at bats. It's under the radar because of how bad Devers is doing, but he's got 12 strikeouts and 19 at bats. He's not really chasing that much, which is kind of weird. It may be that maybe the weather's playing into it. I don't like to blame the weather on a lot of stuff, but it may be also he's pressing. But there's really nobody behind him in the farm system for the Rockies, so he's going to be the guy. If you want to think maybe get a buy low guy who has some power, he may be the guy just to think about. You don't have to get him now because you can get him now. You get him real cheap, but I mean, he's a guy that you can probably still get his value at, and just give him some time. That's all. Just don't play him yet, but give him some time.
I was listening to Rob Silver. He went on the RotoWire podcast a couple weeks ago, and he's like, the biggest overrated player is Toglia. Like, there's nothing there at all. I actually agree with him. I have no interest whatsoever, and he's proven it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a terrible contact hitter. He does have power, and he plays in Colorado, and he's still only 26, and they haven't even had a home game yet. So, yeah, I mean, if you got him, and you're expecting like a 210 batting average and 20 to 30 homers, you'll probably get it. That's about it, though.
But remember, the Rockies do play most of their April games at home. So if you want to maybe tap into that cheap power, you may get it.
True.
All right, and Jose Ramirez is off the list. I know we may have talked about him, but, I mean, he's off the list. That's it.
Yes.
Okay, pitchers. Another guy who we were saying maybe off the list, Nestor Cortez. By the way, I have to say thank you so much, Tanner Bybee. I have a bunch of Nestor Cortez shares. I even have more Tanner Bybee shares. I don't know why I decided this, but opening day, food poisoning for Bybee. I'm like, well, let's just get him out of the lineup. Who knows? Will he come back in 3 days, 4 days? I don't know when. Well, I got Nestor Cortez on the bench, who I said I swear I'm not going to play because he's facing the Yankees. But all right, let's play instead of Tanner Bybee. Oh boy.
Whoops.
Ouch.
Boy.
Yes.
Hey, it's one of those guys you wish you had like a time machine for. What the hell did I do that?
Probably by like the 5th pitch of the game too.
Yeah, and then Bybee comes in, of course, gets the win for the next start. I'm like, oh no, really?
And now Cortez pitches 6 innings, 1 hit ball, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts tonight. So is he off the list, Sky?
I think he's off the list. I think he just can't pitch against the Yankees because guess who the one hit was by? Jose Trevino.
Well, didn't he catch him?
He did catch him, yeah. So I think they just know him so well that I just avoid him against any of his former teammates. Other than that, play him.
You're gonna see a roller coaster of like he was started in like 70% of leagues, and then it was like -4, and then,
and then he picked up like
next
30
week it'll
points
be like,
today.
okay, yeah. All right, we'll start him again. All right, what about Bailey Ober?
He was sick, so I'm inclined to give him a pass. Velocity was down 1.5. He was miserable. That's a second straight year. He's just blown people up the first start.
Okay,
but it seemed like a reasonable excuse to me. He didn't look right, so I'm just going to write it off.
All right, David Bednar. David Bednar has not just been demoted from the closer; he's been demoted to AAA after being in the majors for a bunch of years. I mean, you go to AAA to fix your mechanics, I guess, but they don't even trust him right now to work in even low leverage situations. Gotta imagine, especially the Pirates aren't a great team. You just booted from the closer role. Like this is a drop. I think in almost every league.
Yes, but they sent him down to the minors to try to get himself better. He's trying to work the cutter in more than the splitter. If you look at the way he was pitching already this year, if he can get that right, they'll bring him back up because I don't think the Pirates are going anywhere this year. He may be trade bait. So the fact that sending him down, I think they want to get him right so they can have some trade value out of him.
Well, he's not really doing anything to have good trade value if he's got to go to the minors.
That's the point of sending him down. Get his head on straight, and then maybe he'll have some value.
Yeah, he's a drop. Ryan Presley, a little bit cold so far. Fastball, little life on. His velocity is a little bit down. I think Ryan Presley is going to get a long leash, maybe a couple of bad outings. I'd hold him if you're interested in him for saves. We know that Porter Hodge is looming, and he looked good last year. But I think if you need him for saves in 15-team leagues, you're holding and playing him, I think. Agree?
Yeah, I kind of think so. I mean, the control's not that good. He's 36. The stuff looks a little bit diminished. But he's converted both of his save chances. So that fact will keep him there for the time being at least. And Porter Hodge, I think a lot of teams are gravitating toward maybe having their best reliever not take the closer's role, but be able to pitch whenever the middle of the order or the most difficult batters come up.
Okay, want to do waiver wire. It's our first waiver wire segment of the year. Talk about a couple of batters or maybe a long-term pitcher that you want to pick up. Let's start with you, Sky. Who's somebody you're looking at, I guess, that we haven't talked about so far?
Damn, it takes Nootbaar off the table.
Yeah.
How about the rest of the Cardinal outfield? Victor Scott and Jordan Walker. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of these young guys.
Okay, move it.
I have a couple guys. First, a guy who's a Met draft pick back in 2019, Jake Mangum. He's hitting off. He's going off the charts. He's hitting third in the Rays order right now. I think he was batting .533 when we started taping this. His K rate is 12%. This is a guy. He doesn't have that much power. He doesn't have that much speed, but he's a guy you can plug in if he's hot just to see what we can get out of him because he's batting number 3 in that Rays order. He's only 14% owned in CBS, so he's a guy that you can get pretty cheap. And if you have any outfield injuries, you can plug him in for like a week or two. Don't spend that much money on fab on him because I don't know if he's a long-term guy, but he's a guy you can use. Another short-term guy, Edmundo Sosa from the Phillies. He's 9 for his first 16. So I think that's pretty good, but he's a bench player. He's only owned in 7% of leagues in CBS, but he's eligible at second, short, and third. So if you have any short-term injuries, same thing. Pick him up and put him in. And I have a reliever also, Blake Trinan. He's not necessarily the closer, but he's pitching in high leverage situations. He's only pitched so far this year in the 8th and 9th. 32% of CBS leagues own him already. Owners in CBS own him already. He has one save already. He's got 7 strikeouts in 4 innings, and you know that Dave Roberts loves using him because he did close out the World Series for him. So he does have an affinity. If Tanner Scott has a night off, Blake Trinan may be the guy to get the save.
I like that call on Jake Magnum. This is really the guy, the type of pickup that you want to focus on. Where very, very low ownership percentage, hot, batting in a great spot, in a decent ballpark, at least now, what they're playing in. I love it, by the way. Hunter Goodman, he is a catcher that looks pretty good, and he's not going to play just catcher, so you can get more playing time out of him, which is very important. You always want to pick catchers that play more. Could be even a low-end number 1 catcher at an upside. 2 homers so far, batting .333, and again, not even really playing in Colorado yet. Hunter Goodman, I think, is an interesting pick. Jordan Hicks looked really good in his first start. You got to see how he does this week against Seattle. Now, he's got a very tough matchup next week at the Yankees, so maybe people aren't rushing up to pitch him, but to pick him up and pitch him, but maybe you just pick him up on your team. Don't play him and wait for the next week. You never know. How about IKF, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? Looks like he's back to himself. He's 4 stolen bases already. Very useful player in a 15-team league, any league that has limited IL for his great eligibility. And very useful player, I think. Anybody taking a stab at any of the closers? Pagan, maybe. Alvarado, maybe. Seth Halverson. Anybody taking any stabs on those?
I'm not, no.
No. Alvarado did not. He looks very shaky, Alvarado, today.
And I actually got a question from a mailbag question that from Kyle asks, would you drop Jordan Romano for Jose Alvarado? I answered him in the DM. I'm like, well, I don't got any shares of Romano. I wasn't doing that anyways. But listen, if you spent money on Romano, I don't know if I would throw him away just now.
Yeah, I agree. I have him in Tout Wars, actually.
Yeah. No. I give it a little bit of a fair shake. All right, let's do the pitcher preview. Is there any 2-star pitcher or a good 1-star matchup that you're thinking of for next week for anybody? Sky?
I got Shane Baz, man. I think obviously the first start looked great. Velocity was up significantly. He gets the Angels and the really ice-cold Braves. I think he's a great 2-star option this coming week.
Uwe?
I'm not thrilled with the lower level 2-star pitchers, so I have 2 other guys. Zach Littell of Tampa. He's only 30% owned in CBS. He has a spot in the rotation. He had 7 strikeouts in his last start. He's pitching at Texas next week, but it may not be the best start. But he's a Tampa Bay pitcher, and Tampa Bay pitchers, even though they have injury risk they always have this great upside. And if you want to go really, really, really deep, Kyle Hart. He pitches for San Diego. He looked good against Cleveland, and he's playing Colorado. That's what you're looking for. He's playing Colorado in San Diego. Colorado is dead last in runs scored, even below the Braves, even though they haven't won yet, even below the Astros, who are not hitting yet, and they have only 3 home runs this whole year, Colorado. So they're playing in San Diego. He did go 5 innings before. He's owned in maybe in under 10% of most leagues. He's a guy for 1 start, a one and done. You can get him for $1 in most leagues, and he's the guy that, are you worried he's going to blow up against the Rockies? Right now, I don't think anyone's worried they're going to blow up against the Rockies.
By the way, do you know which Major League Baseball team has the best starting pitcher ERA so far to date?
I do not.
It's the Colorado Rockies.
Oh, my.
Really?
Well, 5 road games.
Wow.
Woo!
Yeah,
Okay.
So interesting. I'll give a couple pitchers of different varying depths that you might think of. Jose Soriano, this is in more shallow leagues, looked good so far. He was a sleeper for a lot of people. Yes, he did play the Chicago White Sox when he pitched 7 innings, 5 strikeouts, only a couple of hits. But faces at Tampa Bay. Jose Soriano, I think, is interesting. Could be a longer-term keep. Connor Gillespie, 2 start this coming week against the Mets in Washington. I watched him pitch against the Mets. His pitches moved quite a bit. I was actually really impressed with him. For 15-team and deeper, that's an interesting option for 2 start. Griffin Canning at the Athletics, good first start. Watch what he does against Toronto this week before you want to pick him up. And Miles Michael, you never know. The mustache guy is back. All right, 1 mailbag question to do. James asks, hey, Ariel, I was wondering if you could discuss the following question in an upcoming strategy section of your pod. How would you manage starter versus reliever balance in a daily head-to-head league, especially early in the season when there are more potential breakout pitchers on the wire? And by the way, we're talking, he loves the show. He wanted to say that it's a really well-organized show, Beat the Shift. You guys have great chemistry, and I really enjoy your hosting style. I appreciate how useful the information and discussion is for fantasy managers, and of course, some of the best music ever. So thank you very much, James, for that wonderful compliment, and
Thank you.
maybe we can help him out. So, Sky, what do you think? What is your starter versus reliever balance that you would do for daily head-to-head early in the season?
If we're talking head-to-head points instead of categories, I'm just maximizing starting pitching to what the rules will allow. So, like Tout Wars, for example, I think I've got 11 starters, and I just cycle in to get as many starts as I can every single week.
I think that's true also for even if it's categories, because it's a head-to-head. When you have a head-to-head, you're not worried about blowing up your ratios. If you guess wrong, like if you had a Nestor Cortez the other week, all right, so you blew that 1 week, it's not going to hurt you forever.
Right.
So I'm more risk seeking for these pitchers. I'd probably go a little bit more starter heavy than the relievers early in the season because again it's head-to-head. I don't think that you need to really worry about torching stuff.
I'm actually the opposite of both of you. I like to have lots of relievers on my roster for this. I have like 4 or 5 guys that I really like as starters. I'll have my 6th and 7th starter on the bench in case I want to play them, and I have a whole bunch of relievers I can get in so I can get those saves. So I can win that category. Get help up with the ERA and whip. Those are 3 categories. That's 3 out of the 10 right there. And if they vulture a win here and there, that could be 4 categories. So yes, the starters get you the strikeouts, and you can do as many as you want. You can keep adding, keep doing that. But a lot of times I like the stabilization because for the relievers, most of the time, as long as they don't blow up, you know what you're going to get, and that's at least 3, sometimes 4 categories.
Yeah, I think it's important though when you to draft depth in relief pitcher because you want to cycle in a lot of those relief pitchers, especially in the off days of the starters.
Exactly.
And especially if closers have pitched the nights before, so you do want a lot of depth. So if I was drafting, I would probably go quantity over quality in a head-to-head league for the closers, so that you can get the depth. But I'm good with in terms of number of starters, I'm good with still putting them in and not worrying about anything. So, all right, Ruvain, injury update.
All right, so we'll start with the Red Sox and Brain Bello. It was just announced today that he needs 2 more rehab starts. That's what Red Sox manager Alex Cora said. And then he will be hopefully rejoining the rotation, as is Lucas Giolito. Lucas Giolito is a couple of rehab starts away from returning also, so that rotation is going to look a lot better very soon. Francisco Alvarez, who was on the IL after he had a surgery for a fractured hamate bone. He had surgery. The stitches were removed. He's doing some baseball activity. He just started doing that. Luis Torrens right now is the catcher for the Mets. He's actually hitting pretty well. So he's a guy if you want to, if you have a two catcher league, Luis Torrens has actually been hitting pretty decently. Josh Lowe, he was placed on the IL with a grade 2 right oblique strain. This is usually 6 to 8 weeks, and guess who got the playing time instead of him? Jake Mangum. So he's the guy who's to get if you want to fill in because he's the guy filling in for Josh Lowe. Colton Cowser fractured his left thumb sliding into second base. Orioles manager Brendan Hyde said he expects Cowser to be out 6 to 8 weeks at a minimum. Dylan Carlson was called up, but Heston Kjerstad may actually get some more playing time. Sean Murphy's on the mend. He's on the IL with a fractured rib. He actually hit a home run in his first rehab game. He may return this weekend or even beginning of next week. Brandon Woodruff, he continues to rehab from shoulder surgery. He did throw a 51-pitch sim game this week. He should throw one more, and then he'll be going on a rehab assignment. He could be ready sometime in early to mid-May, so if he's on your waiver wire, you got to get him soon because he's not going to be available much longer. And Andrew Abbott, he's on the IL with a shoulder strain. He's on a rehab assignment. He could return next week with Alexis Diaz. So if you have the closer or Scott Barlow, whoever in Cincinnati, Diaz was on the IL with hamstring inflammation. He's starting a rehab assignment this weekend, and Alexis Diaz, along with Andrew Abbott, may be activated by the Reds this week.
I have in the GDD, I have Woodruff, Strider, and Acuna, and right now we're in second place. Man, Ruvain, if I can somehow hold it for a month, it's gonna be tough. Gonna be tough to beat us.
Yeah, especially when on my team I have Luis Ariz, I had Nestor Cortez. Yes, you're doing pretty well right now, and I'm going the opposite way right now. So yeah.
All righty. Had to get some smack talk in there. But all right. Well, this is a really jam-packed episode, Sky. Always really great when you come on. Just such great insights to the players from a great analytical perspective, and you certainly know what you're talking about. And why don't you tell everybody where we can listen to you on podcast form, radio, and all that you do?
Yeah, we're at insiderbaseball.com. I write probably 3 to 4 columns a month on daily player updates, and we have every week or two we have a podcast come out. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. So that's about it for me anymore.
Amazing stuff. Ruvain, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter, X, at MLB Injury Guru, where I tweet out injury updates as they come. And I have a weekly article with Rotoballer discussing all the injuries I discussed today, as well as many others, and the next man up.
All right, I'm Ariel Cohen. You can see my stuff over at Fangraphs, over at Rotoballer. ATC projections on Fangraphs have switched to the rest of season mode with depth charts, playing time. Take a look at that. That is updated nightly. Well, rates are updated like every 3 to 4 weeks, but the playing time is updated nightly, so check it out. And on Twitter at ATCNY, and of course on this Beat the Shift podcast each and every week. All right, once again, thank you so much for Sky Dombroske for coming on the show today. And from all of us here at Beat the Shift, well, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Beat the Shift podcast presented by Fangraphs. Follow us on Twitter at beat_shift_pod.